In this video, we will look at another method to solve a linear system, and this method is called elimination. And the whole point of elimination is, like the name says, to eliminate a variable. So I have the steps on the side for us, and we will work through them for our first example. So your first step is to pick a variable to eliminate. It is completely your choice. There is no wrong answer here. So in my first system, I'm just going to say, let's eliminate the x's. Now, in order for you to eliminate a variable, you need to match the coefficients of the chosen variable. So they have to become the same number. So we have to pick a number that is common to both, a common multiple. So first of all, I'll put a 1 in front of the x. So I look at the 6 and I look at the 1, those two coefficients, and I try to find the lowest common multiple. You can think of this as the same process as when you're trying to find a common denominator. So if I look at 6 and 1, and we remember the shortcut to finding a common denominator, it's just multiplying your numbers. So 6 times 1 is 6. So our common multiple, or our goal, is going to be to get 6. So the first equation is fine just the way it is. So I'm just going to rewrite it. My second equation, I need to turn that 1x into a 6x. And the way we're going to do that is by multiplying the equation. I know to get 6, I can do 1 times 6, which means I'm going to take my entire equation and multiply every single term by 6. So 1x times 6 is 6x, y times 6 is 6y, and 14 times 6 is 84. Once we are here, our chosen variables match. They have the same number in front. And now we are going to either add or subtract our equations so that when I add or subtract, I get 0 of that variable and I eliminate it. So if I have 6x and 6x, I just have to ask myself, does 6 minus 6 give me 0 or 6 plus 6? And subtraction would be the way to go. So I'm going to subtract my lines. And just a little way to remember this is if your numbers have the same sign for that chosen variable, you will subtract. If they have opposite signs, you would add the lines. And we'll see that in another example. Now it's super important that you always come back to that subtraction. So maybe you want to put a subtraction between everything, the x's, the y's, and the constants. So 6x minus 6x is 0, so that's gone. 5 minus 6 is negative 1y. And then 32 subtract 84 is negative 52. And now we eliminated the variable. This is just a quick solving equation. I divide both sides by negative 1, and I get y equals 52. This is half of your point of intersection, and after you get this, it's similar to substitution, which is pick any equation and sub this into it for that specific variable. So I'm going to go into equation 2. So x plus y, but instead of y, I'm going to write 52 equals 14. I'm going to bring the 52 to the other side so that I have 42 subtract 52. And I get x equals negative 38. And if I wanted to do a left side, right side check, I definitely could, and I will show it right here. So I would look at the equation I haven't touched, which is the first one. The left side says 6x plus 5y, and the right side says 32. So on the left, I'll replace x with negative 38 and y with 52. And at this point, I would just go to my calculator and write exactly what I wrote. And I got 32, which is the same thing as on the right, so I'm happy. And now I can write my therefore statement. Therefore, point of intersection is negative 38, comma 52. So you chose a variable to eliminate, you match the coefficients, and then add or subtract. And then after that, it gets repetitive. So let's try it again. In my next example, 4x plus 3y equals 3, 3x minus 2y equals negative 19. I'm going to choose to eliminate the y's just to mix things up and to show you it does not matter which one you pick. So I'm going to look at the coefficients. I have 3 and negative 2. The negative I'm not going to worry about right now, I don't care. So just looking at 3 and 2. The common multiple is 6. I could have just done 3 times 2 to get 6. So my goal is 6. Now, to turn 3y into 6y, I do 3 times 2. So I'm going to multiply the entire equation by 2. That's going to give me 4x times 2 is 8x. 3y times 2 is 6y. 3 times 2 is 6. So I did it for all 3 terms, and that's super important. For the next one, I have 2y. To turn 2y into 6y, I need to multiply by 3. So you're pretty much multiplying each equation by the other coefficients. That's what you can do when in doubt. So 3x times 3 is 9x, negative 2y times 3 is negative 6y, and negative 19 times 3 is negative 57. Now it is the time to choose between addition and subtraction. So first of all, my two numbers are positive 6y and negative 6y. And I said when you have opposite signs, addition is the way to go. And that's because if you try 6 plus negative 6 in your calculator, you will get 0, and 0 is your goal because that means you eliminated the variable. So we are going to add. And we can put that addition beside everything so that we stay consistent. So 8 plus 9x is 17x. 6y plus negative 6y is 0, and 6 plus negative 57 is negative 51. And now we can divide both sides by 17 to get negative 3. So the only new part here is matching the coefficients by multiplying your equations and then choosing to add or subtract. After that, it's a quick one-step equation. And here, this is just substitution again. So I'm going to go into my first equation because the numbers look smaller. So 4x, and x was negative 3, plus 3y equals 3. Clean up. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Bring the negative 12 to the other side because we want variables on one side and constants on the other, and I'm careful, I switch the sign when I bring it over. 3 plus 12 is 15, and then divide both sides by 3 to get 5. So therefore, our point of intersection is negative 3, 5. All right, let's try the next one, and you will try this one on your own, but let's choose the x's this time, just going back and forth here. So we're looking at 4x and 5x. In terms of your goal, 4 times 5 is 20, so 20 is a safe number as the goal of the coefficient. So go ahead, pause the video here, ask yourself what should you multiply the first equation by to get 20x, what should you multiply the second one to get 20x, and then decide on the plus or minus. And then come back to the video to check your work for the first variable before you continue. All right, so 4 times 5 is 20, which means your first equation should get multiplied by 5 and the second one by 4. So 4x times 5 is 20x, 2y times 5 is 10y, and 8 times 5 is 40. So check your first equation. If you had that, good. If one of the numbers is different, maybe you forgot to multiply it by 5. For the next line, 5x times 4 is 20x, Negative 3y times 4 is negative 12y, and then 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, I'm looking at the 20x's. They're both positive, so subtraction would be the way to go because 20 subtract 20 is 0. And I'm going to put my subtraction everywhere. So 20 minus 20 is gone. 10 minus negative 12, that becomes addition. So 10 plus 12 is 22y. 40 minus 40 is 0. And that's okay. I'll divide both sides by 22, and 0 divided by anything is 0, which means the y coordinate is 0. And now I'll just go into the second equation. So 5x minus 3 times 0 equals 10. This 3 times 0 is 0, so that's just gone. And then we can divide both sides by 5 to get 2. So therefore, point of intersection is 2, 0. And you can check your work with the other equation as well if you want to double check. And that's it for elimination. So once again, choose the variable. So 1, choose variable. 2, match coefficients. 3, add or subtract. Step 4, solve. And sub to finish. Because once you get to this step here of getting your first variable, it gets very repetitive. But that's it for elimination. So in terms of algebraic methods, we have substitution and elimination. Substitution is great when everything is nicely lined up. The x's are on top of each other, the y's, the equal sign, and the constant.